Ready to go?
Yep.
Welcome, everybody. This is the Daily Crossing Podcast number 13. Lucky 13.
Martes 13.
Guys, great having you here. Good to see you.
How was coming back? I was crossing the border.
How
was it?
This time was different.
Yeah, I didn't have to swim into the country this time around. So, it was a phenomenal seeing family. As you know, I spent a week out of the country. And
That's awesome.
I was attending the wedding of my oldest son.
Congratulations.
A phenomenal
It's
event.
confirmation that time doesn't pass in vain.
Yeah, it's I started.
No, kidding. Congratulations.
Started very young.
Yeah, that's awesome.
No, it was a phenomenal time. You know what I mean? It's always great
fun.
seeing family. It's just nothing replaces that, and it just takes you back to. A time of innocence, you know what I mean? When life was just extremely simple. Like now I laugh about that was the problem that I had. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
It's true.
a flat tire on my bicycle.
Do you feel more like a kid when you go back home?
Always.
Yeah.
Always. Because here's what happens, though. You know what I mean? I come from a big family, you know what I mean? And everybody just comes together, right?
Yeah.
And
First night he sent a picture, it was like 47 people there. I'm like, just a few of us. I'm like, yo. That's next level.
Yeah, it's a funny
Central
thing because
America.
immediately, there's 3 minutes of awkwardness. You know what I mean? Everybody's trying to find rhythm again, but as soon as we fall back in, whoever is a jokester and everybody that is pulling pranks and
Nice.
there's always the niece that would be showing up with the little boyfriend, and immediately everybody goes
Gets bullied.
What's your name, George? Hey, what happened with Carlos? You know what I mean? What happened to the other guy? What is it? You guys, what is it? Every week there's you're gonna get torture in my family.
That's hilarious.
But we had a great time.
That's good.
That nothing replaces coming together. It was a phenomenal time. How are you guys? How's everything?
Good. This side of the world is everything is good. Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you, I felt better watching the banking system burning to the ground from a distance a little bit. I said, maybe this is...
With a couple of baleadas.
Yeah. The only thing that I was afraid is that is my card gonna work if this thing can keep going the way it is. Is this thing collapsing is the end of it. Guys, how crazy... By the way, is it me or it just got very quiet out there about the whole banking system?
Nothing happened.
What happened?
Nothing.
What do you mean nothing?
Don't talk about it. Don't talk about it.
Yeah, it's like...
It's a don't ask, don't tell us type of thing.
Yes,
the
100%.
president said the banking system is strong as hell. Was that enough for everybody to just go quiet and not to talk about it? How are you feeling about the banking? I mean, what's your take? How did we go so quiet about this? Was not small news.
But to, I guess, give the situation the benefit of the doubt, I think it should have gotten even more coverage than it got. Like, I feel like people who, care about information, they knew what was happening, but I still ran into a lot of people who didn't know what was going on.
No clue.
I was like, you heard what's going on with the banks? They're like, what are you talking about? Like, all right, talking to the wrong person. Let me go somewhere else.
Are you serious?
I swear, yes.
Cool.
Yes.
I need to be talking to the
I'm telling you,
people
there's a lot of people who had no clue what was going on.
Part of it, guys, if you watch the news right now, unless it's like, again, it's got to be either a very specific business channel or something connected to this type of updates. But if you go through regular local channels, it's nothing.
I saw a meme that says,
What's going on?
The banking system is collapsing. Deploy Trump going to jail. Like that was.
But here's my question though. How do you improve your perspective if you're not even getting the news from the traditional news sources? Like that's what. Let's face it. Most of us grew up into an environment with our families. They sat around the TV.
Yeah.
Univision,
you know what I mean?
Telemundo.
You're watching the news. You're gathering information. Yeah. Now we know how controlled information gets to be.
Correct.
Now we know how easily manipulated information gets to be. Now we know how only a potential fraction of the actual information gets to come out. So how the hell do you get a little bit of perspective about everything that's going on that will directly affect you?
I say I got one. You can subscribe to the podcast, right? The Daily Crossing, right? That's one. But seriously, there's so much information out there. People become overwhelmed. It's like, because even when I was growing up, there was like 3 news channels.
Correct.
Today there's like 57 news channels.
You're like, oh, who's
You know
this
what I mean?
guy?
Yeah,
Right?
it was like I don't know, and it's so I feel like it was a lot easier to get access to one source or a few sources of information. Now there's so many of them. It's just I don't know what to listen to. I mean, I know what to listen to personally, but I could see how someone could become overwhelmed. And for me, I would say, believe it or not, the internet's the way to go. I don't even trust. I don't say trust, but I don't do too much on just TV alone. I would say 80%, 90% of the information I'm going to get is going to be on the internet.
Well, and for me, it has to be like you search it, meaning it has to be written and stuff like that, because we stop. For me, it's been a while since we've gone from actual journalism, which is let's go research, like actually get the facts. Like,
correct.
I don't know when was the last time somebody got into like real deep trouble, like a journalist got because they were digging too much into something right now. Basically, right now, what we see in the news channels is an agenda being pushed. So it's like they'll talk about the narrative that is there, and I'll bring up the clip that you showed me the other day. Hundreds of news channels, local news channels, saying the same exact thing at the same exact time.
Word
It
for
felt
word.
like a script. Yeah, word for word.
Yeah.
So it became a script. I don't know if it's a lazy way, like somebody actually cracked the news and everybody just kind of just goes whoop and looks into it and clips into that, or who's controlling the narrative. But either way, the ones that get screwed is the population, and more than anything else is for you that is looking for information, listen to these things for real. Like, listen to the podcast and then start looking. Don't take our word for it. What we're giving you is opinion. It's not journalism. It's just what we're reading, how we're processing it. And
I'm a
if you-
journalist, by the way. So you can classify this
Like, no.
as journalism.
This guy.
I've done a lot of extensive
Maybe.
research on all the topics that I'm talking about.
Maybe his side.
Yes. I don't know about anybody else.
He's 33%. He's
Yes.
33%.
Oh,
It's a
God.
They can
journalistic
take
approach.
mine to the bank, the ones that are still in
It's a
business.
journalistic approach.
Yeah, the Silicon Valley Bank.
As good as Anderson Cooper, or as good as
Alexi
Sean
Cooper,
Hannity,
we're gonna
yeah.
call him. Not Alex
you know,
Cooper.
yeah,
Alexi
yeah.
Cooper.
Alexi Hannity, something. like
Alexi
that.
Hannity.
But it's funny you say that though. But there's a lot of it's like I don't know what's the best route somebody can take. But here's the funny thing. I think anybody who looks, they'll find answers.
Oh yeah, 100%.
It's not hard to
Yeah.
find an answer if you look for it.
If you want to confuse the hell out of yourself and actually come up with your own perspective, look for both sides. Like, I like to torture myself and say, that's what I'm
Yeah.
still a
yeah,
registered
yeah,
Democrat,
correct.
'cause I get text messages.
No, that's,
You're
We're
supposed to be a
fundraising for both.
Democrat.
Yeah, of course.
You know.
Yeah, you're complying with the expectations.
I am complying.
Exactly.
100%.
But I think that this will be a great time, guys, for us to even make a recommendation to everybody. You know what I
Yes.
mean? I think that, my suggestion would be, first of all, I don't want to say who cares about what's going on out there.
Yeah.
The question is, what's going to be affecting you and your family? So my recommendation is, listen, just sit down, if you're married with your wife, you know what I mean, and children or whatever the case may be, if they're already old enough, right? If they're old enough, they should be at our house, but at least you and your wife. You sit down and write a few things down, like what matters to you? What are you concerned?
Yeah.
Because once you come up with are you concerned about the amount of income you're making right now? Are you concerned about the amount of savings you have? Are you concerned about what your the investments that you have, even if it's by way of 401k, of what's actually happening with that? Are you concerned about what's going on? But are you afraid of something can happen to whatever money you have in your bank, or your, again, your retirement process? There's a number of things, right? Are you concerned about your health and the health of the family? And based on listing 7 to 10 top concerns that you have, you should be making choices on searching for that information. You know what I mean? Because supposedly, because you're saying something that is 1,000% correct. When
That he's a
information is when information is flowing the way it's flowing right now, though, it truly is information overload. You know what I mean? It's not that we don't have access to information; it's that we have so much of it that we don't know what to do with it.
Correct.
Right, and most people don't know how to use it. Right, I agree with you. Before there was only a few channels, but now that we see how easily manipulated information was, the question is it worse now, or is it worse, or was it worse then? Because how do we know that those three channels were not saying,
Gotcha.
we're not literally
Yeah,
having the meeting
yeah.
right now? Okay, guys, listen, this is what we're gonna talk about,
Yeah, yeah.
and this is
We're
how we're
gonna
gonna
just kidding fight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know what I mean. And
Yeah.
so it's a little scary.
Yeah,
When
I
it comes
think
to
I
it.
think the answer is it's both. It's both. So for the person who wants to get the right information, you have more access to information, so then you can get better quality information today than you've ever could have. But the ability for someone to bamboozle you is also higher.
At the
So then
highest
for the
level.
person who's not being critical and thinking for themselves, they're gonna get got. You know, so yeah, so it if you want to be in the know, it's
highest
easier
level, the highest level,
But if you want to be, if you don't take the initiative to find out for yourself, you will be manipulated.
So-
100%.
So here's, by the way, I disagree with you on the fact that if your children are old enough to process this, they're out of the house. Yes, but on the other side is something that me and my family, when my siblings and us, we come together. These are conversations that we actually have, and you can tell that one of us, not me, obviously, but one of us is actually like, oh, come on, are we gonna be going through this process? And it's a grueling process.
Yeah.
But on the other side,
But not from
it's necessary.
inside of the house, meaning you already moved that.
Got it.
And you're
But
more than
but we
welcome to come back
but we
and sit at the table
But we
and
come
have a
together.
for dinner.
But
then you gotta
anytime
go.
we come together, there's always a conversation about current event, what is happening. Because otherwise, stay alert, stay alive. If you're not prepared and stuff catches you with your pants down, is that the one thing that I will suggest to anybody is the number one thing that you have to do is follow the money.
Yeah.
The second thing that you have to check that. So, for example, I will always go to Wall Street Journal and Market Watch or something like that because my money is being affected, and money affects everybody. The second thing, if I have children, I will follow. What are some of the laws and things that are actually affecting my kids? What are they learning in school and all of the other stuff? So, also being more specific about certain things. That are affecting your day-to-day life, but it's always good to know.
Yeah, we do actually maintain a family tradition, which is to actually go out to dinner and during that process we go through the exercise of dealing with everything connected to the issue, the whole situation, everything that is taking place out there.
That's good.
And it's a little bit of the opportunity just to get to know what they thinking also about the stuff, and also give them a little bit of perspective. Make no mistake about it, though. Regardless of anything, in the last 10 years, the conversation that I had with, when some of my children who now happen to be in their 20s, right? Just about all of them. As a matter of fact, there's only one who's under 20. The conversation when they were 10 years old, opposed to the conversation that at 9, 10 years have to have today. You know what I mean? And as a parent, to talk about
about a 20-year-old,
pornography
12.
material that is part of the conversation.
Yeah,
that's crazy just to think that is actually happening, that is taking place. And there's some people actually think that is a good idea. You know what I mean? And guys, listen, I'm very flexible when it comes to listening to everybody's opinion. I'm very clear about my position and my opinions, right? But I'm very flexible when it comes to listening. Like I am really willing to sit down and listen to what the other perspective and really make an effort to try to understand where you're coming from and how you arrived there. But I'm going to tell you, there's a few things where you will lose me just because I just can't even comprehend how you will allow yourself to get there. You know what I mean? To that level. Obviously, the whole situation is taking place with school systems and all of that. Is part of that conversation. But listen, but again, it goes back to the whole idea of how information is being used and manipulated. The banking system is definitely not in a healthy situation right now. We are nowhere near coming out of it yet. You know what I mean? We still, if anything, we still got to see.
Inflation is still doing what inflation is doing. I mean, it's lower than 9%, but it's not where it needs to be. So the Fed is still doing what the Fed needs to do to control inflation, which is increasing the rates. There was just another hike.
Yeah.
So it's like that actually again puts way more and more strain in the system because their money that they have accumulated is less valuable right now.
Correct. I'm with you. I'm with you. Anyway, with that being said, guys, there's a couple of things that I wanted to cover with you. And again, I'm inviting people to, make that assessment, what matters to you, your family, your children, and come up with a list of things and start searching information based on that perspective, right?
Before you even go on, I just want to say one thing. I was thinking about this. I think it's super important that if you know you're the person who's like leading your family, it may be on you to do this.
Correct.
Don't assume that the family is going to come together and say, all right, what's important for the family? Yeah. You may be the person who's going to have to do that for the family. Because as you were talking, one of the things that I realized is that I think that's a practice that's dying in families, which is just coming together to eat. Yeah. And I remember when I was growing up, that was like a normal thing. Where like when we would eat dinner, we would all come together and eat dinner. Mm-hmm. And then like I would start noticing as I was getting older, seeing other families, they don't do that anymore.
Correct.
It's like everybody's doing their own thing. The food is there, but no one sits together. It's like that's like a movie now, where you see the family sitting together and they're actually processing. Yeah. Hey, what's going on with that? Though? I believe it's just because the parents now are overwhelmed. And then so now it used to be a time where maybe there was one person working, or even if there was two people working, the grandparents are there. Versus now it's a lot of single family households where they're both working at different times. So then because they have so much going on, they don't have the time to sit down with the kids.
Can I tell you though? I think that to be quite honest with you, I think that you're giving a very kind approach to that situation. Mm-hmm. I think, well, there's two things that are happening, right? One of them is you build traditions, and you either going to build a tradition to come together as a family, or you're going to build a tradition of everybody on their own thing, right? And so you do build traditions. Now, that goes back to what you were saying. It might be that one person in that family have to be the one leading, saying, "Guys, come to the table." Mm-hmm. It's not like we all just went. I mean, eventually you do, right? But there was always somebody calling you to the table.
Come eat.
And literally, you know what I mean? Yes. And so I'm telling you this for one simple reason, right? Like right now we have this whole argument about equality, right? That it's like, so who's leading? If we are all equals, right? And who's gonna take the leadership of saying, as a matter of fact, I mean, terms like patriarchy and matriarchy that I grew up under those concepts. I mean, there was one person who was the patriarch of the family, and has taken such a negative connotation and is being used for so many negative reasons and to make so many stupid negative arguments that also takes away from somebody giving a sense of direction. Early on, we were talking about, when I was younger, my grandmother was around, right? And the question was not, when Christmas came around, the question was not, what am I doing for Christmas? The question was, where's grandma spending Christmas? Because whatever she was going to be, that's where your butt was going to be. Correct. It was that simple, you know what I mean? But again, that goes back to the idea that there was somebody that was centered.
Is that an American thing, though?
What, to do that?
Because I grew up in...
I don't know, because I was raised by an immigrant. Yeah. So my grandmother...
Oh, shoot.
Yeah,
Let us know.
I wasn't raised by Americans. So the traditions that I grew up on...
She was expecting you to show up, and she gave you a beating if you got there late.
Let's go. Chancletas.
Yeah. So
wait, do you have chancletas flying on your head, too?
Oh, no, what do you mean? Whatever. It doesn't matter what it is. Yeah. Her arm will stretch if it needs to.
Whatever was not nailed to the
go catch it.
Yep.
Yeah, but just think about the beautiful traditions that came from that, right? Correct. It was like for me, I always say that in my family, somebody had to be the wall, meaning that's the one person that was going to stop you from all the nonsense. You know what I mean? And by the way, you need that because just think about when everybody's just out there, out of control. You don't know your direction. You don't know what to do, and you don't know who's going to be the wall that's going to stop you from maybe in some cases even just getting to the point of you hurting yourself. You know what I mean? So, but that's anyway, important. But I appreciate the perspective. I 100% I agree with that. You know what I mean? I think that we need to go back to some. It's not even a question of principles and values. I think this is just simple common sense. You know what I mean? It's like things that you need to do. They can actually improve your position, especially when it comes to access to information. There's everybody's talking about a number of great sources of information, but and we hope to help with that perspective. Absolutely. You know what I mean? Guys, a couple of things that I wanted to cover in this conversation today. is, we've been talking in multiple occasions, we spoke about the influence that China is developing in different places. So I want to share a couple of things with you about that. And needless to say, we can't ignore this whole potential situation with former President Donald Trump, potentially getting indicted, arrested, you know what I mean? It's like, and they said that it was supposed to happen last Tuesday. Today is a Friday. So that did not happen. But the rumors are that it's definitely coming down the pipeline, and more than likely it's going to happen next week. I want to get your take on that.
They did come up with some AI pictures.
Like unbelievable. And you mentioned something about the Fed's obviously raising interest rates. The American economy right now is reflecting one of the things that, and maybe we can start with that just to get that out of the way a little bit. One of the biggest criticisms that is always allocated to capitalism is the high highs and the low lows of the economies, right? Like they run it up to, but what most people don't understand is that it's not just an American thing. You know what I mean? It's just maybe in many ways we do know how to make things bigger and faster just because the consumer, the nation is a nation of consumption. You know what I mean? We now consume more than what we produce. Right? Which a lot of people were saying, well, that eventually will lead into trouble. Not necessarily. What will lead into trouble is if you lose the consumption power, right? If you don't have the ability to still generate the financial strength that is needed to be a consumer, right? The problem is not if I'm working. The problem is if I run out of money because I stopped working, right? And so if I stop working and I have the same buying power, then all power to you, right? As like go have some pina coladas somewhere, right? But
and get caught in the rain.
But that is one of the biggest criticism, right? Is the whole idea that we know, and by people not understanding these cycles of the economy. And Ray Dalio spent so much time talking about the cycles of the economy. Obviously Warren Buffett has been, and more I'm subscribing more to a lot of his perspectives that even above and beyond, Ray Dalio. In going back to some of the basic principles that move the economy, though, you can really see the pattern. You can really see, every X amount of years we have certain situations when you see the people are spending too much, consuming too much. That means that too much credit has been extended. That eventually can get to a point of just collapsing the economy altogether. So corrections like this have to be made. My argument the last time around about this whole situation that triggered the banking crisis was that, if we have easy access to capital for so many years, I don't have anything against you raising the interest rate. But the fact that it was done so quickly and so forcefully, and to actually be done knowing because when you have a conversation, when you're listening to Powell's, when you're listening to every single player that is involved in this decision, like it's not that they didn't know that this was going to happen. They actually, in many ways, suggested that this needed to happen, like every other correction.
But that's the argument is that like how much can you continue to push an unhealthy economy, and how much farther and how much harder do we have to fall if the changes are not being made? I think this guy just said, let's go, let's do it, and it's gonna suck for a little bit, but I'm sticking to the plan.
So I don't know. I'm not sure what is gonna be because the big thing that I'm thinking about now is what type of impact is this gonna have and when, because the last time
for how long, right?
Correct. Because right now we're seeing the effects with the last banks from what was being done over the last a couple months to a couple years.
Yeah.
So I don't know what they're doing, how that's gonna impact us, moving forward. So
all I can tell you is that when I think about things like this, I go back to the times where they used to do surgery without anesthesia. Like you have to have a bottle of
Whiskey.
liquor, something to drink. Like somebody was cutting your leg while you were fully awake, and I can't even imagine. Like today, somebody gets a little nail blister and they're like whatever, But then we were able to get to the point where how to numb the pain and how to put you out completely. You went to sleep, you woke up, it does happen, everybody.
Almost
Right?
dead. Actually, you die from.
Right. And so here's my point, though. This is that. This is we got everybody to go through anesthesia, and now we want to go back to doing surgery without it. And the only reason why I'm making that comparison or that analysis is because I don't mind with them raising interest rate. I think it's needed. I just don't understand why it has
The
to be
speed.
done.
Your problem is the speed.
That's my issue, because especially knowing that once there is a domino effect, once it happens, you really can't stop it, because the question is for how long,
Yep.
right? Listen, whatever is happening here, just think about this, right? There's a window of time for markets, internal markets, to be affected, internal industries to get affected. And then there's another window of time for people outside of the country, like the buyers and we supply so many things to other countries, right? And so they don't feel the effect. By the time we are really coming back from the whole situation, they still right in the middle of it. You know what I mean? And so I just you will think that by now there will be a better formula, a better way to deal with it, and that we will not address these issues in such a cookie cutter way, because it's always the same though. Like, I haven't seen an improvement. These corrections, when they take place, however needed they are, not arguing the necessity. You know what I mean? However needed they are.
So what's a better way of doing it? Like, if it were like Marvin Powell.
Well, I mean,
what's the
in first of all, do increasingly but slower. Second of all, you can make some credit requirements to be just a little higher, so that if you want, you can slow down the economy. You can slow down the amount of debt that people is going to incur by essentially making the process just a little more, streamline it. You know what I mean? Just a little more difficult. Meaning, you're gonna buy a house, and we went back to 100% financing. Everybody agreed before that was not a good idea, but guess what? We went back to 100% financing, right? So maybe it's a better idea for somebody to spend some time saving money, and then put 20% down. Right, so that will, first of all, that makes the liability from that gives you also a greater interest on protecting your property, and so the same goes even for cars. Just think about by the way, the amount of cars that are being repo right now. They saying that it's like you're gonna see a wave. We went from there were no cars available to right now banks are afraid of releasing the amount of cars that they already repo. They already repo. It's not a question of like they're just afraid to release all of it because they don't know what's going to be the impact of the market. Why did that happen? Well, we made it so easy to go buy cars and and that will apply to just about every other consumption product.
But then, so here's the question: can the Fed even control what the companies are doing?
Well, Congress can have an impact on housing requirements. As a matter of fact, housing. Congress has a lot to do. Democrats has a lot to do with lowering a lot of the requirements, put a lot of pressure in the banking system, so they will come up with more easier way for starts with minorities. There has always been an ongoing argument. What else can we do for housing? What else can we do for housing? And also think about it though. When it comes to election time. There's nothing greater than saying, I'm going to do everything in my power so that the American dream happens for you, Lorena, and we're going to help you become a homeowner. And you're like, I got to vote for that guy, even though you don't know everything that has to go into. And so, it's unfortunate, you know what I mean? Because we can do a little bit of both, you know what I mean? It's just now, here's the question, right? Can we handle, seeing the slowing down that whole buying power or the consumption, because not also that will impact profitability, that will impact, there's so many other things. So which one is
worse?
You know what I mean? The worst of the two evils. You know what I mean? Do you let because the idea is during good times. People should be able to make some money. There's an argument out there that you can give, 100 people $1 million each, and about 3 to 6% of them are going to become really wealthy, and everybody else is going to make maybe
to right
a
where you
little bit
were.
of money, but about 80% of them are going to go back to the same level of poverty. I mean, listen, just winning the lottery has proved that over and over again to people that within 2 3 years tops were already back to working because they blew through that. Well, and again, listen, a lack of financial information and training about where we are, but
Can I ask you though? Because for
Uh-huh.
me, and look, I know it's gonna be painful, but wouldn't it make sense to just rip the Band-Aid off and just be like, but instead of like
Meaning.
meaning
well,
like just being like, let's go up real quick to like crash it faster so that we can move on faster versus it being like, let me go ahead and you're still peeling the Band-Aid off little by little, hair by
That's what
hair.
it done, but that's essentially what capitalism is supposed to be, right? But the problem is that if something is going to fail, you have to allow it to fail.
They're bailing it out.
And right now, it's like you're saying we're making a correction, but you're not. Essentially, you're creating a bigger monster, because now every bank is saying, well, we're probably gonna get bailed out. So let's continue to be as careless as we are. That is
So
the
there's no
problem.
real lesson. Huh?
There really
There's
is no
freedom
lesson
to fail.
learned. No, exactly. It's almost like an empty exercise. You know what I mean? It's pretending that we are going to slow down certain areas, and then we're gonna let the chips fall where they may. That's not. We're gonna decide which ones are going to fall. That's not capitalism.
That's
you know what I
crony
mean?
capitalism.
Exactly. I agree with you. If you're gonna go through this process, and unfortunately some people will have to go under, and some, from banks to companies to employees, you know what I mean, that will find themselves unemployed, then you gotta let the chips fall where they made. You know what I mean? But that's not what we're doing, and that's the unfortunate part about it. You know what I mean? So that's what has to be corrected.
Okay,
Either we
I
go
see
back
what
to
you're
those
saying.
principles, and I'm 100%, then do it in a week. You know what I mean? It's like, hey guys, we went from zero interest to 18%
No,
starting Monday.
They said 10, easy. Or
Anyway,
or whatever.
can
it
we
is.
move
Got it.
on
Yeah,
to
to Trump.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
former President Donald Trump? I'm gonna tell you, I remember how difficult it was to watch everything related to Bill Clinton during the time during the whole Monica Lewinsky situation. It was the first time that I really started to pay attention to American politics. It's not, but because I just couldn't.
Were
believe
you in
that
the US?
Yeah. I was in New York, and. But it was like the first time that I'm like,
Yeah,
wow,
yeah.
this is brutal. Like,
Yeah,
who? I was like, wow, people here are
Bring
crazy.
the popcorn.
You talk to the president like that. You call like you're sitting him down. Like the guy is being interviewed, and I remember how they were making a big deal about the question and that he was asked, and he answered something to the effect of, well, it depends on what your definition of the word is. I'm like, this guy is good. But I'm like paying attention to for the first time. But I'm gonna tell you something that also happened. I actually felt sorry for the guy. You know what I mean? But by the way, crossed the line, did something wrong, did something embarrassing to the country, to himself, to his family, to you name it, right?
Of course.
But it was so bad that I actually felt bad for the guy. I'm getting to a point where I'm actually feeling a little bad for Donald Trump. Like, I've never seen somebody being attacked from so many angles. And by the way, the guy's still going around saying, "Bring it."
Yeah.
Bring it.
that's
What else? This whole idea that you have somebody that ran for office, first of all, to become a district attorney for the city of Manhattan, and ran under the promise that he was going to put this guy in jail.
Yeah.
And now, first of all, that alone is extremely disturbing. You know what I mean? To know that somebody can go in there and manipulate the law, right? So what is the actual argument, right? First of all, the charges remain unclear, right? I was looking into some of the information, so we haven't seen what the charges are going to look about, but obviously it's related to a 2016 payment, hush payment, that was given to a porn star, Stormy Daniels, as her
Stage name.
or her,
Okay. All right.
her talent, acting name. You know what I mean?
Yes, yes.
just in case anybody's curious to look it up, right? There's the.
Do you know her actual name?
Yeah, it's actually it's somewhere around here. It's Stephanie something. So, what, you want to look it up by the right name and see what comes up?
No, we don't need to know.
But anyway,
okay.
the point is, the point is that she was paid $130,000 allegedly by former President Trump because they had a sexual encounter, and that's what the whole allegation is all about.
How's that? I didn't think that was illegal.
Well, the problem is by not seeing the charges, right? The allegation is that it was not properly. First of all, it appears that one of the arguments that is going to potentially show up is that it appears that it was not properly reported. It was only reported as a business expense.
Okay.
So
got it.
Was he supposed to report it as personal leisure? I mean, what makes a report? Like, how do you report?
The wrong bracket.
Yeah. You know what I mean? And that opens and then they also wanted to question as to whether or not 2016 was already getting very close to the possibility of running. Was there any money related to the election, the campaign money that was used for that? It was already established even by the commission. And it was already established even by the FBI that was
the
not
question.
the case.
This was already investigated.
Correct, but and
by the FBI.
FBI, the obviously there is a commission within the election process that you have to report everything to, and they also have to look into as to whether or not what you're reporting is accurate, or if anything was misleading, if anything was a lie. They actually also have the right to come after you, and they decided that there's nothing there. You know what I mean? So this guy again takes it upon himself, and he might be right now being called a superstar by the people that wanted to see this happening, but then there is real life, right? And real life is if this goes wrong, this guy is done. At least. The rest of the country right now, even the people that are not, I'm not talking about the people that hate this man. There's the people that would like to see him getting crucified somewhere, right? And literally, like somebody, I'll nail him to the cross, right? There's some people that truly, truly don't like this man, no matter what happens. They don't have an ounce of sympathy for him. Like they really want to see him, do. There's that group of people. That guy will be a hero to them. No matter what happens here, just the simple fact that he's putting him through this process, the level of stress that it would be associated. But here's what they forget though. There's a lot of people that are right now having the effect that the situation with Bill Clinton had. Like some people are getting to the point saying, this is really out of hand.
Yeah.
This doesn't look good. This looks like now you start sympathizing with a guy that otherwise says, you know what? Oh, he's saying that he's gonna get even with everybody, right? I think I want to watch that movie. Let me go vote for this guy and see what happens, because he literally is already making it clear. I get elected, I'm gonna go after everybody that went after you and me and
not only that, like this guy, by bringing this to the forefront, it was surprising that Trump was the one that announced it, and I think he just wants to control the narrative. He's saying, I'm gonna get this ahead because when this happens, I want to make sure that I was.
But that also tells you how savvy he is when it comes to playing with the media, right?
Because, 100%.
Because he preemptively targeted the whole situation, called in a few names in the process of doing that. And yes, managed to take control, got Congress involved right away into asking, subpoenaing some information and asking this man to show up. And maybe that had something to do with the fact that he was not picked up last Tuesday, opposed to now they really got to say, okay, what do we really got going on here?
But they just made him more famous. And at the end of the day, there's going to be a lot
that's not even a question of more famous.
I mean,
maybe more likable.
That's what I mean.
Which right now, there's also a group of people that are extremely furious about what did you guys do? Because now somebody that was literally saying, you know what, I'm going to pass, I was saying, you know what, this is really out of hand.
Yeah, so they're after me. Guess what? They're after me.
Will it make a difference whether he gets arrested or not.
I used to believe, to be quite honest with you,
Yeah.
and I don't think I have the right information, and you guys are bringing it
Yeah.
to. I mean, I'm definitely gonna do additional research. I know that
Trust my
a lot of
journalism?
journalistic,
Oh God.
a lot of your journalistic, experience has
Yes,
gone into
yes.
this guy. But
TikTok.
no, my understanding is that you couldn't run for office. You know what I mean? If you were a felon, you know what I mean? But you guys are saying
Yeah,
that
no.
that is.
I saw it in multiple
You can't
different
have,
publications.
uh,
Business Insider has a whole new article.
Anybody decided to take a look at the Constitution to see where
No,
we are?
we didn't. We didn't-
It doesn't
we didn't-
say that.
Doesn't
But I don't.
say
Yeah,
that.
I don't think it
doesn't
has
say that.
anything specific
It
that
doesn't say
prevents
that.
it.
You have to be 35 years old, 14 years in the country.
And you can, instead of wearing a suit and
And-
tie, you can be wearing an
Yeah,
orange jumpsuit.
orange
Yes.
jumpsuit with a red tie. That's an AI picture, just so you know. That's hilarious. Like for me, it was so funny.
and what
There was one picture. Sorry, this has
go ahead,
nothing to do with it, but it has everything to do with
That's
it. There
the
was a
one picture.
picture where Trump was being arrested, running
Yeah.
away, and the cop was biting. That's so funny.
That's messed up.
Yeah.
So now I was saying, if there was something like that, there has to be a difference between being actually charged with something versus convicted with something.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say this thing pushes out, long term. Let's say if he was charged with something, he still runs, not yet convicted. If he wins, can he now? Pardon himself to say.
I hereby pardon myself.
Is
Yeah.
that possible?
President, it would be a first,
Yeah.
and definitely something
That'd
that
be
will
funny.
not
That would be
look
hilarious. Yes,
to
I watched that. show.
will definitely be I can see people going to town on that one, right? But at the end of the day, I believe he has the right to pardon
Yeah.
himself, and that
Yeah,
would be a
that would
funny
be
thing to.
hilarious.
And by the way, I'm sure Donald Trump will have no problems being the first one.
The first, yes.
That's true. First two is a tradition.
Yeah.
So check it out, though. There's a bunch of presidents and Congress people, especially of other countries, that have definitely been in jail.
Yeah.
Chavez being one of them.
Nelson
Bolsonaro
Mandela
being
was in
another
jail for a
one.
long time.
Nelson-
Yeah.
So it's like
A lot of, but I don't know if that's not America. though.
that's not America.
It's not America.
I get it.
America got their
I
own
get it.
set of
But there's
rules.
a couple of people that are.
Yes.
Well, I mean, the
In
thing
other
is
positions
that
of government.
I know that right now they're throwing everything on him, including the kitchen sink, right? The funny thing is that by the time the dust settles, there's a strong possibility there's going to be a few Biden family members that are going to be the ones that are going to end up getting arrested.
That's true.
I mean, unless
That
they
investigation
have
also is
done
heating
a
up,
yeah, that is moving in a different direction. It's finally getting to the point where people are not able to ignore it, hide it. I'm gonna tell you, they have done a phenomenal job manipulating everything, right, to be able to stay out of that level of trouble. But I will tell you, if Donald Trump will have a fraction of what
Yeah.
the Biden family has
He
when it
would've
comes to
been
it, he would have
in
been
jail's
picked up
jail.
1,000%. So, but there's a possibility for that one to happen for real. You know what I mean? And I don't know how high or what level
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
gonna go, but the investigations are pointing at the whole, Biden family and a portion of the administration.
It's the family, though. It's not him.
It still doesn't look good though.
Well,
Oh,
it
I get it.
appears that just so you know, and again, the what they
That's the argument,
what they're
though.
alleging right now is that this there's a very strong confirmation at this point that he had knowledge and was absolutely involved on certain things.
Yeah.
So the claim that he made for a long time about not having any knowledge right now has
Biting
gotten
him, yes.
challenged to a point where there's enough available information to know that was not a truthful statement. Now, where was that statement made? I mean, well, to the press most of the times. And one of the things that you can see about this administration is they can literally say things whatever they want, and then everybody decides to believe what they want. They already make the
sweep it under
statement
the rug
that
anyway.
the banking system is stronger than ever. They already make the statement about the economy of the United States being stronger than ever. I mean, these are statements that have done press secretary, even President Biden himself. You know what I mean? So this is they just put in again their own narrative out there and say, let's see who bites into it, right? And then people will react however they want to react. Guys, before even I move out of this, because I wanted to address some of the things connected to China, but I will tell you, one of the things that I hope everybody remembers is that Donald Trump was the only president that didn't get United States into any wars, and the amount of casualties that we had out there when it comes to our soldiers, family, dropped drastically, dramatically. And right now, we just had an incredible amount of soldiers that actually died because of an Iranian attack that took place in Syria. I think that the count is already over 20. You know what I mean? So, just to see that image again, you know what I mean? Just to, it also signaling, how weak, because this is something that did not happen. Anybody, I don't care how much of a Trump hater you are, you cannot argue against the fact that none of these things actually took place during his administration. And so, to see that happening out there is very disturbing. I don't care who the next president is going to be. I just want somebody who's going to make it very clear to that group of bad characters out there, because I'm going to tell you, that group is just growing and growing and growing. A lot has to do with the role China is playing. A lot has to do with even what Russia has decided to is going to be their position.
Well, those guys are becoming buddies and buddies.
And
buddies. Like you see them every other week.
It's funny when you actually do things like you ended up driving, opposed to United States being the one who was going to have a direct influence. Because I'm going to tell you, there literally is no way for Russia to get 100% comfortable with China, because China is right next door to them. You know what I mean? One day China can actually decide, you know what, we don't like you anymore, and that can hold go. So, United States should have been always the closest partnership to Russia, and they should have felt that, you know what, we don't need to be enemies. There's a lot of things that we're going to compete with, but right now we have a bigger issue with that guy. But when you're forcing the two biggest bad guys out there to actually come together, that is a failure of diplomacy.
Leadership.
Yeah, and it's a failure of leadership, and make no mistake about it. But let's see how the whole thing. So, but anyway, now that we mentioned China, I'm going to tell you one of the things that happened during the time that I was in Honduras. Honduras is, guys, right now population around 8 million. For many years, Honduras was labeled either center or center right? Then gradually, the last 20, 30 years, considering everything that has been taking place in Latin America, it's a miracle that they actually were able to hang in there being center right. Today, we have an administration in Honduras that is essentially a socialist administration. They claim to be, they are forming alliances with, that'll give you a quick idea of how bad things are going there, with people like Ortega from Nicaragua and Maduro from Venezuela, right? So that alignment tells you, you know what I mean, what the whole thing is going on.
Who are you smoking with?
Yeah, you know what I mean? And for many years, when you see one of the things that China has been done strategically, right, is to extend their influence throughout the region, right? It's like little by little, making every single one of what used to be either a natural ally or somebody had a natural, fairly good relationship with the United States to go out there and put a little more pressure by having a financial position in the country. But Honduras was for, guys, I can't even tell you for how long, you know what I mean? For so many years, was in a very good relationship with Taiwan. In Taiwan, obviously, as you know, there's a significant issue between China and Taiwan. China claiming that Taiwan is naturally part of China. Taiwan claiming independence, which I think that they had more than proved and established that they have not only an independent economy, but also an independent way of. But I'm going to tell you, Chinese government is very aggressive when it comes to controlling everything. You are going back to, the current leadership of China is literally behaving almost like back in the days of Mao, you know what I mean? What is central, is absolute, you know what I mean? There's no, imagine a guy that gets elected by everybody. Like his election was 100%. I mean, you could be a good leader, but 100%? Really? Nobody came out and said, no, listen, this guy crazy. Nobody? Right? So here's what they ended up doing. right? Starting with Honduras, trying to send a signal to the United States. Because remember, the signal was maybe not even against Taiwan. The signal was maybe against the United States itself. We are going to become friends with a guy who's actually your enemy. And here's the misguided position for a lot of these countries. It's like, we are going to make them compete for us. That's not what China's doing. China is strategically going out there saying, what do you have? What kind of infrastructure you have that we can buy? We're going to buy your ports so that we can control everything that goes in and out, so that we can control and track everything that goes in and out. We're going to control your toll system. We're going to control your road system. We're going to control your energy structure. We're going to control your natural resources. What the hell?
That's what's happening in
That's
Colombia, right?
what's happening right now in Colombia. That's what's happening right now I mean, you name it. You name it. Right now, Peru. Right now, Argentina is accepting a lot of money. So these guys are going through a financial, to the extent that,
You see, follow the money.
and I want to link it to what right now the U.S. military had no choice but to request an additional $842 billion to be added with a sense of urgency to their budget, so that our readiness for war is really better position, stronger position. Because right now, if we went into, it looks like we're going to be the ones with a little, nail clipper fighting against it. Just think about how scary that is, right? But the problem is that you have an enemy that is now surrounding you, right? And having the ability to dictate who does business with you. I mean, this is strategically, they couldn't play it better. The funny thing is that there's a lot of people that are supposedly fully engaged with the current economy and situation of China, and they're saying that China is due to collapse 8 to 10 years from now. I don't see the evidence yet. I don't see the evidence yet, and that could, that could be the case. You know what I mean? But what I'm saying is, right now,
Maybe
this
right
kind of
now,
move,
that's why they're moving with a sense of urgency,
yeah.
and they have a big opening.
not pretty 1,000%. Maybe that's the one thing
Big
that I wanted to
opening.
highlight. Right,
Yeah.
right now, when it comes to the instability that every country, especially in Latin America, you know what I mean, that is experiencing, is making it very easy for them to come in. That was a big deal, though. That was by the way, there's about over 200 students right now that are about to lose student grants that were being supported by what we call becas in our countries, right? Scholarships, and they're about to lose that because obviously as a matter of fact, the ambassador of Taiwan was recalled by Taiwan from Honduras as a way of again signaling how unhappy they are about that relationship that's being formulated. So obviously, but I can't even tell you the amount of investments, how much they have done. Taiwan has been an incredible good partner to Honduras and to the people of Honduras. You know what I mean? And a lot of infrastructure has been put together. They have done from medical support to, you name it. You know what I mean? There was a real healthy partnership taking place in there. And there was a very healthy amount of trade taking place within the two countries. That is all going south at this very moment. And most people, listen, Honduras I had a reason, because I'm there and we've been talking about how the influence of China is just getting bigger and moving around. Most people don't even have a reason to pay attention because most of us are saying, what does that have to do with me? How does that affect me? The problem is, if you start to be surrounded and everyone that is around you now is acting, behaving, or actually truly becoming an enemy, may not be affecting you right now. But make no mistake about it. It's going to come to your doorsteps at some point.
Yeah.
Right? Theater near you.
I'm not really concerned with China as far as thinking they're going to try to physically fight with us. I just don't see that happening. But I can see where they're going to try to position themselves to try to make us go like bankrupt as a country. I think a lot of their moves is to fight with other people that's gonna hurt us on a financial level versus I just can't see it happening where we're gonna like go physically fight with. I don't think that's
Well,
happening.
militarily, we still have a superior position. 10, 20 years ago would have been by miles, not just by a mile, but by miles and miles and miles, right? Today, not so much. They are getting closer.
meters.
And guys, in a previous conversation, I said to you, if we're gonna go to war.
Yeah.
We might as well do it now. That we still have a superior
Yeah, I get you.
possibility. I don't
Yeah.
want to wait until the guy
Yeah, I
has
get
the
you.
same caliber of gun that I have,
I
and
just
more
feel like-
dedicated people.
Yeah, true.
You know
true.
what I mean? And
feel
Well,
like
I mean,
all
there's
the meg-
financial, but there's also technology and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, this whole thing about 5G, Huawei, like.
That's what I'm saying. That's the
it's
type of war
big.
I think we're gonna see.
Yeah.
Is if there's gonna be a war with them that's a physical, it's gonna be they somehow send coronavirus over here. You get what I'm saying? It's gonna be things like
Wait,
that. Yeah.
seriously?
again,
Yes.
You know. So
I don't know
It's
that
not gonna be
we-
up in your face.
There was
and,
just
like,
confirmation that it did leak from a Chinese lab.
but they didn't. That wasn't according to them an act of war. Or they didn't do it on purpose. It was a mistake. It
Whoops.
was a mistake. It was a mistake. They didn't mean to do
What was
that.
the last mistake you made, Alexi?
it was a mistake that was gonna make sure
Mistake.
that it was gonna make sure that a guy named Trump wasn't gonna get reelected.
There you go.
It was a mistake that was gonna cause for the economy to
Collapse.
go down to hell.
Yeah.
It was a mistake that was gonna get the country to
Yeah.
pour a lot,
Yeah.
billions and billions of dollars that was going to get the economy
Yes.
to going to.
It's a mistake that trapped a bunch of people in their house and it actually messed up
Yeah.
tremendously with their mental health.
1,000%.
But that's
It's
the
like
that's
us
the
as a
war I think we
country,
got to
we're,
prepare
like,
for.
jacked up.
It's
It's
not
happening then. It's
learning
not
how
just
to-
right now.
It's happening already,
Yeah,
but I will tell you, I think that I'm always surprised and grateful to see how resilient our country happens
True.
to be. You know what I
Yes.
mean? And it's always tested based on even whatever current administration happens to be. You know what I mean? Because somebody will say, "Thank God we survived Bush." No different than some of the people saying, "Thank God we survived Obama," right? And then there's another group of people saying, "Thank God we survived Trump." We're struggling right now with Biden, though.
I was gonna say, are we gonna?
I'm
survive?
hoping that we
Yes,
can
we're gonna
survive this.
survive.
We're gonna survive,
make it.
right?
Yes.
Okay, with that being said, and in that positive note,
Yes.
guys, any final things
TikTok,
with that?
TikTok.
Do you
That was another mistake.
have you-
They didn't do it. They
have you
weren't.
watched
There's like
any-
a whole
have you
other
watched any of
virus
those videos
happening
right
with
now?
TikTok.
The CEO of TikTok was actually.
I think TikTok is actually.
You do know the CEO was actually taken to Congress hadn't.
He had like a
for an
5-hour
announcement.
Yeah.
back and forth.
Yeah.
grilling session.
Yeah.
Yep, and he somehow I guess didn't know TikTok was doing the stuff it was doing or whatnot or something like that. I don't know.
Sure.
Whatever. But on a different note,
It was another whoops.
Yeah, it was a whoops. Yes, but I think TikTok is actually superior to a lot of the other.
Plus,
So it's
I don't
that
have it.
advanced. I have it.
I don't
yes.
I don't have it because around the days
That's
that
why
was
he's a
about to.
journalist.
I'm not sending you any private information because you know what I mean.
No, yeah,
keep,
they know, they
they
know.
keep stroking
I know.
you. They know
They
it.
do,
They're taking
yeah.
it. They
But,
have, by the way, they have the right to access your
you
information.
gave them the right, isn't it?
And you consented to
sign
that.
off on it.
And right now, that information can be used by anyone.
I agree.
pursuant to control.
But I think this. Who reads the fine print in any of the? Like I didn't read the 100 pages that Facebook had or whatever. I'm pretty sure all of them they have a way to where they can get access to more information than you thought they had access.
Yeah, but are you feeding public enemy number one when you sign up with Facebook?
I don't know who that is. That's the problem. I don't know because the truth is that, and I'm being a little like
Yeah,
acting like
I
don't
gotcha.
know. But the truth is like when I get an app on my phone, I don't know who controls that app. I don't know if this app is they just because they say it's comes from out the country or like how do we know that Apple is only controlled by Americans? That's not.
Yeah, I mean, at the beginning, people don't know, you know what I
Yeah.
mean. But eventually, you do get
This
to
is
know the
public
structure.
knowledge now.
By now is So, for example, a couple of things that we do know, right? We do know the algorithm here is different than the algorithm in China.
There is no TikTok in
No,
China.
no,
It's a
no.
different app. It's a different
Completely.
thing.
So-
Correct.
Children get time now, but for like 15 minutes they can spend a day.
But
It's a-
here's
right
the thing.
now,
But hold on,
TikTok?
I just
All right,
want,
I'll
I
let
just
you-
want
I'll
to
let you-
highlight a
Sorry.
couple of things. I just want to highlight before you guys go bananas about
sure.
this, right? I just want to highlight a couple of things. One of the other thing is that they asked the CEO of TikTok, you know what I mean? Your children have access to what is that? Well, I'm from Singapore, and the country itself, if you're not at least 16 years old,
Can't have it.
doesn't even
Yeah,
give
so
you
they're not
access
old
to it.
enough,
So his own children don't have
Don't.
access to it, right? Number three, the parent company who actually owns TikTok, has people that directly report to the Secretary of Communications or whatever in China. I mean, so there's actual people that report directly to, so they can collect just about. And it's not just a question about collecting the existing information. It's that keystroke means that they have access to every password, everything that you ever set up. So. Listen, what are you gonna see? A questionable picture on somebody? For most of us, who cares?
Yeah.
Somebody's gonna say, "Wow, this guy is really obsessed with art." You know what I mean? And like,
Right,
what do you? I'm not concerned about, but poetry again. Like, what do you? I'm not concerned about that. But guys, we do have some people
Yeah.
that do deal with sensitive information, and the fact that they have the ability to go into all of that is a significant problem.
So
Yeah,
let
but
me-
also kids.
Let me just say.
Like,
I got
because
two
they're-
big
okay, go
points.
ahead, go
Two
ahead,
big
go
points.
ahead,
Two big
go
points.
ahead, go
What I'm
ahead.
saying. Point number one. I don't believe we should say that. I'm not saying that TikTok is awesome and we shouldn't be paying attention to what they're watching. What I'm saying is you can't take the other social media platforms off the hook, because I don't believe that somebody like Zuckerberg is just loyal to everything that we say as a country. I
No,
don't think.
Facebook's
I
not.
think he can change sides whenever he wants to as well. So I think any social media platform should have to go under the same thing that they're going through. Like, wait a minute, what information do you have access to? Because for us to think that it's only TikTok is
Yeah,
one who's-
but
that's
Facebook
the-
has already lived through it.
What do you mean?
They've been to Congress multiple
they've
times.
been
Actually, they've been like
About-
grilled on the
about
process.
access
The,
Yeah,
to
but
the problem right now.
Yeah, but all of them is this is what I'm saying is they all have an issue with, I think, getting access to too much of our information. But I think for whatever reason now we're highlighting TikTok as the only ones that is a problem.
No,
I
it's
think
not
that's
the
all
only
a problem.
It's like-
All of it. Right? Now with the algorithms, I think the problem is us. It's like to say it like that, that's the problem. We create the algorithms that make it worse for us. And I hate to say it that way. I think Americans, most of the time, they like stupidity. And they like stupid things, and then that creates the information that you see that's more stupid.
But you can make that worse. Because, first of all, you know what I mean? A couple of things to be
Yeah.
concerned about, right? It appears that they have the ability to collect physical information. And this man, did his best not to answer certain questions, but including, how your eyes will react when you see something that you like or don't like, and that will also trigger for the algorithm to give you more of it. Like it's an endomorphine type of effect, right? But again, I don't think this is something that concerns many people, but I think that there are certain areas where people can be extremely concerned. The other thing is that, again, you made a very important statement before, which is maybe not physically going to war, but psychological war, but stealing information, stealing intellectual property, all of those things is a way of making your population dumber. I mean, that's the ultimate guys. That's the
No,
ultimate.
I get it,
that's the ultimate baseball bat. This is like being in Brooklyn.
But like, so
that's hardcore,
so,
man.
So remember we was talking about the news earlier, right?
Correct.
So watch this. Here's what I'm saying. Like, if I were to look for information on TikTok, right, versus another platform, like, let's just use Instagram. If I were to type in, like, just a general thing, like, I'm looking for a video and I can't really remember what it is, and I just type in something, on Instagram, you cannot find it. If you don't know the exact video, you cannot find it. TikTok, you can mention something about the video that sounds similar to it.
You can misspell the first three
and
letters
you will
and stuff.
find it. their thing is so precise. You can find anything on there. So then now, if I'm looking for something specific, I will find it 1,000 times
But that is
easier.
the argument. The argument is the
that's
algorithm. That's one of the arguments that the
but that's-
algorithm is so deeply
I
already
believe it.
connected to you.
I get
You know,
you.
it's the whole
Yeah,
idea.
yeah,
You
yeah.
start thinking about something, and next thing you know, you start to see it showing up, and
Yeah.
we're like, wait a minute, I didn't even search for this
I
thing.
thought about
I
this.
didn't
I
even-
know, but what I'm saying is, I don't think we could fight against that. I think that's gonna be just technology we're gonna have to deal with, and it's not TikTok to blame for that. I think the other platforms should be just as awesome, to where they have the same way that they can do that.
I agree with you
because
that-
now I can get access to more information faster. Through it.
I agree with you about the other guys need to,
Yeah, they need- yes,
they need
they
to
need to
up their
learn, yes.
game. But I'm gonna tell you though, this is the equivalent of saying, like just because cocaine feels very good to use it, that I want to use more of it, or let me
No,
not remove
so-
from. That's
so-
not a good idea. You know what I mean? Because you have right now, guys, what you have is an actual security risk.
Right.
For some of the people,
I don't-
you know what I
Look,
mean? So-
Yeah, I mean,
I
so
don't think so.
here's the way that I look at it. You ready? You can already see, like, go to a restaurant right now. Go to a restaurant and go have a meal. And if there's any children sitting at a table with their parents,
Yeah.
they're not talking.
Yeah,
They
but
have
I agree.
one of these suckers right in front of them, and I'm not. This is not TikTok. This is YouTube.
Correct.
You know what I
got
mean?
you, I got
So
you, I got you.
it's just right now is everything that these kids are. By the way, shame on the parents. It's like I remember for a period of time, we didn't even have a TV. My parents were so against like us being able to consume shit that they're like, nope, we don't having a TV. Up until I was a grown ass adult,
Yeah.
not living in my household, but I moved out, was when I was able to have a TV in my own room, and I still had like reservations. Those are like and I'm like, oh shit, I don't know that I want that in my room because then it takes away from.
it.
So like that was then. Now we're in where we're at, where there's a bunch of like children are being put together and brought up by whatever the hell is so Cocomelon and what the shark little guy and like, you know what I mean? Like all of that is happening,
Yes, yeah.
and it's feeding your
It's
children.
scary. She
So-
doesn't even have children.
know, how do I
no,
know?
but I hear like freaking. We have one of our agents right here. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah. No, I get
it
you.
haunts me in the
Yeah.
middle of the night.
No, I
Like,
get She got the remix.
what the hell is this shit?
20 languages.
So there is that.
Yes.
Top it off with right now a 3-year-old has access to like they can search your phone better than you can probably.
Yes.
My grandma has a harder time
No, no.
putting my phone like handling the phone than the 3-year-old that she's not even 3. I don't know how old she is.
I love that.
Yeah, I think she's awesome. But I said, but think about that. That
No,
she's
I get
able
it.
to like find the exact song that she's
But
looking
to me,
for.
those are pros and cons. You know what I mean?
I get it.
Technology is going to take you to a
Yes.
place. And by the way,
100%.
I don't.
Yes.
Can I tell you? I don't have an issue. I don't like to be a guy who's going to be saying that we need to limit
No.
access to certain things. My concern is not that. My concern is, is when people are actually doing something that can potentially compromise the
If
security
you-
of the country because it's being done intellectually. As a matter of fact, I do want to say thank you to TikTok. Can I tell you?
Why do you want to
Can I
say
tell you?
that?
I want to officially, I want to let you know that I'm deeply grateful, TikTok, and dear CEO of
Tiki
TikTok.
talkie.
I want to tell you that I'm deeply grateful for one simple reason. This is one of those major issues of the country where literally, I will say almost for the first time, Democrats and Republicans are actually
United.
working together. So thank you for uniting the country. I
That is
definitely,
horrible.
I like seriously.
But-
Joe,
Yeah,
can
what
I
I mean?
finish
And
my
by the way,
point?
and that will tell you how
How
Difficult,
scary it
yeah, scary
is.
the
So
situation is,
here,
so.
here is the whole thing.
You're looking at the wrong thing.
Children are like no, like here. If you're in a competition, let me ask you that: if you're competing with somebody and you
Yes.
know that there is a way that you can kick your opponent's ass because you have control to some intel, you have control of the way that they the future.
Yes.
Basically, if you have control of the future, will you take that advantage?
Yes.
100%.
Yes.
That's what's happening right now.
You cannot stop that, is what I'm saying, from blocking an app.
But by
That's what
whom?
I'm saying. Because
China.
No, yeah, but see, but you guys are arguing two different things, right? Listen, a security risk is a security risk,
Yeah.
and you have to stop that,
yeah.
right? If the issue was an app that is performing better than others, let the free market decide. Let the
Yeah, I agree
let the
with that.
parents get
Yeah,
involved. But
100%.
that's not it. Is an app that is literally a little bit of it's like sugar
Trojan horse.
is drug is
Yeah.
it is
got you.
feel good
Yeah.
is I like it. Just think about how people process information. You know what the beauty about that game was? The beauty of that game was precisely your ability to concentrate on something for long periods of time.
Yeah.
What we do right now is just that you see the children just going like, worse than that. Like when I see them going like this,
Yeah.
I'm like, what the hell are you
Yeah.
watching that quickly?
Yeah.
That all you're doing is, so your ability to concentrate is going down the drain. And also the access to the quality of the information, because you're right, it's not even called Tic Tac, first of all. And what they see on the other side will be
completely different.
intellectual, will be art, will be music, will be phenomenal arguments, phenomenal conversations. But in here, you're looking at a cat peeing on top of a dog.
That's because
and
that's what I think that's the fault of the user.
I'm
think the user-
with you,
I
but
think
again,
the user wants to see the cat peeing.
The-
They typed in, I
listen,
want to see somebody
I'm
dance.
sure you
I
had
want
a
to see somebody get
questionable
shot.
search. I
Like,
remember.
yeah.
I remember I was doing it. Forget about that. YouTube.
Yes,
YouTube.
yes.
So somebody was saying to me, guys, everybody knows that we are connected to financial services, right? So somebody said to me, "Oh, you got to follow this guy, right?" By the way, you know who the guy is just as soon as I tell you, right? Because we actually had in one of our activities, right? And so I did the search.
Yeah.
Once you do the search, it's gonna
right.
keep showing up all over the place,
They
right?
got
So
you.
he's the guy looks. It was like a Fabio, skinny Fabio lookalike, or not as good looking or well built, but it was a guy in financial services, long hair. It was like a weird thing. I'm like, what am I looking at here, right? This guy was. Remember that comedian, the bomb, and what was the activity that we had?
Yeah.
That was supposed to be what I don't even know that I want to mention a name for the
Yeah.
guy just
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I don't want
I
him
know
to feel
exactly
that
what
bad
you're
that he
talking
did
about.
that
Yes,
bad, right?
Yeah.
And
It was bad.
so
It could've been so good.
so I'm with Patrick. I'm with Patrick Bet David, right? And I'm like, Pat, do you know this guy? They're like, I don't know. So it's like everybody was saying it's a big deal. Like now he's just showing up on my. He's like, listen, if you're finding yourself, searching for guys with long hair, they're like, I'm like, listen, brother, all right, easy with that one. But again, that. By the way, I don't even remember doing the search. I think he sent me a video
Yeah.
that I opened up on YouTube, and I had to deal with this guy showing up on my YouTube feed for months.
Yeah.
For months until eventually it got cleaned
Yeah.
up
Got it.
with a lot of that, religious
Art,
information that I love to,
yes.
some Vivaldi.
And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying there isn't some legit concerns that we need to pay attention to as far as what access of information that
Correct.
the owners of TikTok have. I'm just saying whatever they're concerned about, they need to be concerned with all companies, because I don't believe in American companies or Chinese companies. I think that at any point in time, I can decide to fly here and say that I'm still an American company, even though I live over in India. It makes no sense.
Not only that, I agree with you to the extent that we also, through those Congress investigations, we already established that there was some political influence, there was FBI influence on many of these platforms, and through the purchase of Twitter by Elon Musk, right? Where,
Twitter
man,
files.
talking about the Twitter files,
of
right?
worms.
A lot came out. But
Yeah.
with that being said, guys,
Yeah.
this was fun.
All I'm
Yes,
saying is, parents, seriously, you have to pay attention to whatever it is that your kids.
I agree.
If certain countries are not even allowed, and I'm with you, I'm for free market, I'm for freedom to try and fail, but at the end of the day, there's a lot of people in different communities that said we've never been able to get out of the situation that we're at because it's part of our culture. Right now, we're fucking with our culture, and that's not okay.
Yep.
So it's like, for me, more than do I think Congress needs to ban whatever the hell is happening? No, I just think that it needs to be addressed. A lot of people need to know what the hell is happening, because at the end of the day, it's multiple generations right now that are being influenced. And you're absolutely right. Countries are getting dumber, and at the whole country is getting dumber as a result of not having conversation, being fed all of this BS, and it's not okay. Yep. So parents, pay attention to whatever the hell your children are looking at, and just follow suit. If another country doesn't even allow us past a certain age, there's a reason why. I don't think Congress should get involved. I believe in capitalism. I don't think that's the way. But I do believe that as a grown person responsible for a child, you do have to be more responsible and say, what is my kid watching, and can I actually control it? Yep. That's where I'm at.
Yeah. For my last thing, I would say this, and it was kind of what we said in the beginning. If you, not even just if you're a parent, if you are the leader of your family or of your house, I think the number one thing that you can do, like today, that can change everything, make it a new tradition, or start the tradition or continue the tradition to where the family eats together. And pay attention to what it is that your kids or your family are talking about. Don't let it be where they're eating but they're on the phone. Let it be where, no, put the phone away. We're going to actually have dinner. And you'll be, so many things will be solved at the dinner table. But it's just that we're not at the dinner table anymore. So then we got to rely on the teachers or the internet or so many other things to fix the problems that we could have fixed at home. So that would be one suggestion that I think could change everything, and it'll go a long way.
The lazy way of explaining something to somebody is put them to watch a video. You freaking come up and actually say what you have to say about it. And
that was also the best way to learn something, because you have to gather the information to be able to is the best way to actually truly understand something, because you have to make an effort to explain it to other people. So, listen, for me, I just want to, my closing statement is actually something that I'm hoping for, that I'm wishing for, and that would be directed to the Manhattan District Attorney, Alvin Bragg.
Dumbass.
If you're truly keen to literally put yourself through the process of getting elected to become a district attorney for the sole purpose of coming after somebody that many people actually do believe was a decent president. If that was the sole purpose of doing it, and not to uphold the law, and not to, and you actually know that either you're playing a very dangerous game, and you're gonna play it no matter what, because remember that whatever you do to my guy, somebody's going to do to your guy, right? And so it's because once you set precedent, it's very scary, right? Because once the door is open to be done to one of the guys, the other ones and it's a very dangerous path to go through when it comes to the office of the presidency, and to treat former presidents or current presidents in certain ways, to me, is something that always troubles me. So what I wish for you, my good friend, if that is the case, I hope that karma comes visit you very quickly. So, with that being said, if any of this information was helpful, if you enjoyed the conversation, if you were able to learn something, if any of these points were helpful to you, please pass it around, share the video with other people, subscribe. Let us know exactly what are you thinking when it comes to these conversations. Comment. Share. We definitely want to see, and if there's any specific conversation that you would like us to address, please let us know. We'll be definitely more than open to consider just about any position from any perspective. This is an exchange of ideas. That's what it's called, the Daily Crossing.
Nice. So it's definitely guys, Lucky 13.
Lucky 13. Good seeing you. Good seeing you. Take it easy, guys.